Here we have my son's 2016 Ford Mustang with a 3.7 liter naturally aspirated V6 producing 300 horsepower at albeit a screaming 6,500 RPM and 280 pound-feet of torque at a modest 4,000 RPM. Now, this is basically, for us old school guys, a 227 cubic inch V6. Now, back in the days, if you remember the old 231 V6s and just how pathetic they were, you know, we sit there and roll our eyes at any car with a V6. Now, you have to think about this. This is a double overhead cam motor with two 37 millimeter intake valves at 10 millimeters of lift and two 31 millimeter exhaust valves at 9.7 millimeters of lift. Now, what that equals to us old guys is basically a 3-inch intake valve at 3/4 of an inch of lift and a 2.5 inch exhaust valve at darn near 3/4 of an inch of lift. You couple that with 10.5 to 1 compression and a very short stroke. You know, on regular pump gas, I mean, that is rather exceptional. You know, and we're going to make performance improvements on top of that. Now we have the 2016 Mustang in here. It belongs to my son, and I'm going to let him tell us what he's done to it so far, and then we'll talk about what we're about ready to do to it while he's here for this weekend. So, Nick, come and give us a grand tour, if you will.
Hey everyone. Well, this is my 2016 V6 3.7 liter. I know a lot of you haters are going to say whatever you want, that's fine, we'll deal with that later. The main thing that I've done to this performance-wise is the Flowmaster Outlaw Series axle bag. No welding, just a cut, put on your clamp, and then the Roush cold air intake, but we'll get to that up front in a minute. And then I also like my vehicle to look nice at night, so I have a few light upgrades. Back here, we can maybe do something with it later where we can show it in the video, but it's a fourth brake light, which it counts or acts as a brighter reverse light. And then when the brake is not depressed, it's going to be 50% power red, and when you fully depress the brake, you've got bright red light here, bright red, bright red, bright red. So you got 4 brake lights. Basically, don't be behind me when I press my brake. They are really bright.
That's what you got. Let's make our way around the car and see, because you got some really other cool stuff I'm anxious to show everybody.
Yeah. Well, the other thing back here, which I think we're going to do later at night when it's a little darker, you can see better. I have a vanity or interior light upgrade kit from Dynamics. Do you mind if I do a name drop for them?
Nah.
Great company. They do a lot of plug and play stuff. That's where I get all my light upgrades. There's a blue light here in the trunk. My vanity lights on the interior, they're blue, and my interior lights, all of them are blue, and you'll be able to see that once we do the night shot, I believe.
He's going through his blue period.
Well, I like the black.
It looked cuter, I gotta say.
The black and blue theme is kind of what I liked for this car, because actually, if you look in here at the shifter, don't mind the drinks. Sorry.
Even the daylight that shines out pretty nice.
Well, you can see the blue light a little bit. But in here in the shifter, I bought an RTR shifter knob for it because it's got the black and blue theme. And also right here, you can't really tell, but the stock V6 comes with a plastic 2-piece lockout. And I live in San Antonio, and it gets really, really hot, and that's only held together by glue. And if that glue comes off, I can't put my car in reverse. So I replaced it with a solid black billet right here, and it goes all the way down.
Yep.
So
I noticed it had a really good feel to it. I've driven some other 6-speed Mustangs before, and you know, getting them in the reverse is always felt weird with the factory lockout.
So up front, if any of you guys have a recommendation for a strut tower brace, let me know, because thus far I have searched and the only thing I can find is Steeda makes one, and I think Serpro, something like that. They make ones for the GT and the EcoBoost, but not for the V6. If you guys have any recommendations, please let him know and he'll let me know. But up front, I've replaced the struts for the hood. So you can kind of hear, it's pretty cool. It sounds like a jet when you lift the hood. I don't know if you'll be able to hear them in the video or not, but
Oh yeah.
I got tired of having the knob down here to lift up and hold my hood in place, so I replaced those. Roush cold air intake. It does have the mass airflow option, but I don't have it tuned for my car yet, so I do have the insert in here, which limits the airflow, so it's not going to throw off my motor completely and just make me go.
The nanny or electronic nannies nowadays are getting really clever.
And then one thing you're not actually going to be able to notice right now, which I think we'll do later at night as well, if you want to come down here and look at the front lights, if you'll notice down here you can't see any amber. That's because I bought, Diodynamics offers a switchback kit. So this is a solid LED light, and then when I turn on the turn signal, it turns to the amber for the turn signal, and then when it's not in use, it goes back to the solid white LED. So aside from that, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Let's get it up in the air. My God, son. I didn't tell you to throw it off the lift, for God's sake.
Whatever, it's a 4.
Jeez, what the, you know.
Heck with it.
Just kidding. You know, this is his Flowmaster axle back system he's got on here, which is it's pretty cool. But you know, I think it's missing something. I think you know, I think I know where it is. I'll be right back. Yeah, I knew I had them. Douche tiplets for V6 only.
I thought there's supposed to be a family channel.
It's good for what? You know. Actually, what's amazing is that I guessed at the diameter.
I was about to say, did you
and I
measure
nailed
it? Sorry.
Okay, this one's a little small, but hey, there you go.
That's typically not a problem, right?
Oh yeah.
Hard.
There you go, son. My gift to you.
I love you guys.
Hey, here's a close-up look on that light. And he's
Actually, if you want, I can pull that.
basically got a cob LED on there. So, and then here's, of course, is the factory sway bar. Okay, so we're going to start off with the rear sway bar, and what we're basically going to need to do this job is, of course, not leave the important thing out. I'll use an impact, but you could use a ratchet if you need to. But we need an 18mm wrench, and what that's going to be for is the dog bone that attaches to the sway bar. We need for that nut, and if we're lucky, then we can use our 18mm socket and tap it once or twice and break it loose with the impact. We'll be lucky, but if not, which we probably won't, we'll need to use the 18mm wrench, and the stud has an 8mm Allen socket in it. We can hold it with that and then turn it with the wrench, because it's a flexi, like a little ball joint socket, so the stud will just spin in the socket when you try to hit it with an impact, and you don't ever want to do that, because then you'll ruin that socket.
So then we have a 1/2-inch wrench to break loose. If you want to follow me over here, we'll now this will probably be a whole lot more difficult if you have the factory exhaust in the car, because I'm going to guess that the mufflers are like this, and you may have to drop the exhaust out on a factory Mustang. But on this Mustang, where he's got these little bitty pieces of pipe that are supposed to resemble a muffler, then we can get here with our impact. This one we might have to use the wrench and get that one, and but both of them will probably be impossible if you have a factory exhaust. I don't know, because I've never worked on factory Mustang. So, and then over here is where, illuminate that, over here is the 18mm nut, and in the end of this stud is an 8mm Allen, so we can hold it, and you can see the flexi ball joint here on the dog bone. So we take that loose, these two, and the dog bone on this side, and the sway bar will come right on out of there. Now, of course, to get to these, we're also going to have to take the tire off to get a good shot on that with the impact. But you could just try and He-Man it. But anyway, let's go. Now, you see we got a good shot on this this nut that holds the sway bar in there. Now you can see that Allen socket too. Now I'm going to try and pop it loose here, but I'm going to put a mark on this stud, because we don't want that to spin anymore. And it absolutely has to. If it does spin, then we're going to have to, well, it's a lock jam nut, or a jam nut anyway, but if we can break it loose, that'll make life a little bit easier. There it goes. Okay, but you can see it's going to start to spin, I think. Yeah, so let's do it some more. Yeah, and of course, since this is a jam nut, it will fight us the whole way off. So, but you can see that, that'll spin in there, and we don't want to ruin that dog bone. So, always want to be very cognizant of that when you're doing this, because if you let that thing spin around in there, it'll ruin that, and then you'll have a clunk in the back end. You'll be wondering, where's that coming from? So, all right, so let's knock these bad boys out of here. Yeah, thread locker. In this particular case, which way you want to come this way, son? I'm guessing that. Roll it forward. And you can roll it around. Now I'm going to show y'all something here in a minute. You'll see how the sway bar is spinny there on that, but when it's actually in and drawn up tight, it will grip on that bar. So what you want to do is you want to kind of make sure you got your bar where you want it to be, roughly lined up with the dog bones. I'd suggest even that you start the dog bones and get them in place before you snug these back up.
Yeah, if you guys notice, this little rusty looking piece of crap right here was the old rear sway bar, and this is the new rear sway bar. And like I said, it's got 3 adjustable prongs. When we install the rear and front one, we're going to go ahead and start it off here in the center prong, and then I'm going to take it out and see how it performs, see if I want it looser, see if I want it tighter. Chances are I'm not going to want it looser, because that's not going to really do what I want the sway bar to do, in which case there's no point in buying it. But, you know, not entirely sure if we want to go full on as stiff as it'll go yet, because that could also make it so that when you go take a turn, you're going to throw that tire up in the air because you got too much pressure on one side and it's going to bounce. So, like I said, we'll take that out and see.
Okay, so these are polyurethane whereas the other bushings on the original factory sway bar are a soft durometer, and that's the measure of softness of elasticity in rubber. These performance bushings are polyurethane, and they're much harder than a rubber bushing. And what that tends to do is that tends to tighten everything up, so there's not so much flex or give. So now if you use these in a like control arms and things like that, usually you only use that in like heavy duty vehicles, like for instance my truck. I've got real hard poly bushings in there, or full-on road race car. But other than that, you don't probably want to use poly bushings because they will make this thing ride like a truck. Now the sway bar, that's okay, but because all it's doing is holding the bar while it tries to twist. But they'll work really good for that. But what you have to do, poly bushings, you have to lube them up. You'll notice, I don't know if you can zoom into that, son, but you'll notice there's a lot of channels in the inside of that, of that bushing, and that's to hold this grease here. And because one of the other things about poly bushings that people will complain about is that they will squeak. So what we're going to do is put a liberal amount of grease in here. And if you grease them properly, then these things should be quiet for the life of the vehicle.
First of all, make sure you guys got this going in the right way. When you're going to install the rear sway bar, you want to make sure that this little dip is going down, because that little dip is going to create the gap right here. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of play right here on the inside of your trunk.
Noisy sway bar, yeah.
You might hear some unwanted popping. Yeah. All right, so it's going to take a little bit of finagling. Don't be afraid. Get a little scratched. It's going to happen. You know, if you're putting a show car together, then have it professionally done.
That way you can blame them.
Yeah, exactly.
See, hang on, son. All right, let's roll this out. I'm gonna have to roll this out. I don't have room to get that on there from here. Okay, get yours on. Now we'll pop these brackets on there and get them started. Read the instructions for the Steeda sway bar. It says that you have to use this if you use the Steeda sway bar link. Well, the other thing that they don't tell you about is we're not using the Steeda sway bar link, we're using the factory link, but the factory link has, now I've already straightened it out, but I know I can show over here on this one. This one has angle bent around. So if you were to, let's just for giggles, say like Nicholas said, he wants to start his sway bar set in the middle, okay? Well, to do that, if you want to start in the middle, you can't put your bracket on there because of that little bent piece right there. Now I guess you could be ham-fisted and you know, run it on down there, or maybe stack washers in there or something. I guess any of those would be just as effective. But what you can also do, since you're more than likely not going to go in and take this back out once you put it in, if you went to all that trouble, then you can just straighten that 90-degree out with a large hammer and a vise.
If you have a vise at home, by all means do this. If you don't, you're more than welcome to try to figure out a way to do this. But honestly, if you don't have this kind of equipment at home, I would just use the parts provided by Steeda.
If you keep a pressure inward as you're going up, that'll get your bend started. And then you're going to run out of grip there. That's good. Now you can lay it on the flat top of your vise here. And then I got to close this back up because that chuck will fall out. Then take you a good BFH, as they call it, and then give her a couple whacks. So, and you'll see it's pretty straight. Okay, you still see the little divot there, but if you look at it this way, she's nice and straight this way. You don't have that little whoop-de-doo right there. That's just me being stupidly perfectionistic, but anyway. So now, take this like that, and it fits all nice and tidy. You don't have to worry about it being pushed back out of the way with washers or anything like that. And it just kind of gives a nice factory look to it, I think.
And just a quick little advice from me. When you're tightening this back down, go ahead and, get it nice and tight here. Not too awful tight though. Wait until you get this bolt tightened down onto your sway bar, because you don't want to really ruin this. I don't know if you can see this here or not, but I'll give you one guess what this nice cable is. It's your brake line. You bust that, you're going to have a lot of major problems. So wait until this is all nice and stiff, and then go ahead and just do a nice firm tighten down with everything stiff down there.
Okay, like my son said here a minute ago, get your bracket locked down in place real good before you go bothering tightening this up. But once it's locked in place solid, then you can go ahead and snug that up. It doesn't need a whole lot. It's got thread locker on it, and ain't going nowhere. All right, now you want to draw these brackets up nice and even. You don't want to like tighten one up and then bring the other one up. Alternate back and forth. And there you have it, all done. He's got the sway bar adjustment started off in the middle, so that should be somewhat stiffer than stock. But if it's too much, he can back it off by moving the dog bone forward, making for a longer lever, which will make it softer. Or if he wants to tighten it up even more, he can move it back, making for a shorter lever and making it even stiffer.
Okay.
Yep. All right, now he turns his ignition on. That fourth light comes on red. Now, step on your brakes, son. Whoa, bright light. Yeah. All right.
And then
there's your backup light, turns white. That's so cool. Okay, so now he's going to show us how they change color from white to amber. That is totally cool. Way cool. Amazing what they're doing with LEDs now. Let's get a look at those interior lights, because while they look definitely cool during the day, the nighttime are really doing justice here.
you ready for this?
Hell yeah.
So if you want to check it out too.
Nice.
I got one more nifty little thing to show you.
Ah, the trunk. Oh, nice. Definitely nice. That's blue. That is awesome. All right, son, we'll go take her for a test ride, and tomorrow we'll find out how it did. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for watching.